pointing that out because there are some schools where, like I mentioned, Colorado legislators have not amended their policy regarding about test requirements. Lehigh University did revise their flexibility for COVID-19, where they said that they will be sensitive to the challenges posed by postponed test dates, and so that's something that's important to know. But there's other colleges that have not communicated because also the SAT said they are not going online, or meaning no online at-home exam. Why? Because that test will be 3 hours straight. And can you guarantee if your Wi-Fi will be good and ready for 3 hours straight with all the security issues and all that other stuff? No. So if you go to Georgetown University's Office of Undergraduate Admissions or even Stanford, that policy still have not changed on there. And there have been students calling for more colleges to go test optional because of the stress that is out there. One of the directors at Bowdoin College, who was one of the first schools to nix the test requirements in 1969. And if you are like one of those, well, I don't know Bowdoin College, which is in Maine, amazing school. Just check their admission requirements, a college scorecard. It's not the easiest school to get into. They continue to be the strongest advocate for test optional movement. Why? They realize that they don't need the test score to see what is an amazing, great student. You mean that student that works extra hard at that ice cream shop, or that student that helps tutor other kids in their classroom without getting any tutor credit is not an amazing individual? I don't know, right? Think about that. Wouldn't that be somebody that you want to be on your team? At the same time, there are some people, but testing is my thing. Like, I've had some issues with my grades. Well, remember, one of the things I mentioned is regarding about progress. Progress is really important as well, too. And you can talk about both the UC application and the Common App have an opportunity for you to comment just regarding about any impactions. Even if it wasn't about testing, maybe you had to watch your siblings or be their teacher during COVID-19. Or maybe you always had to watch your siblings throughout all your years in high school and never could done that extra club or that extra sport because I had so many home responsibilities. So it gives you, or maybe just high school is just so different. I remember I had a student who went to a middle school, was all project-based, and then it became all lecture and assessment-based. And like, what do I do? So before we talk about what to do, I want to give you a little bit more information. So do know it's so varied. Like we talked about, Stanford hasn't changed their policy, but in the New York Times, Harvard did an interview, and they said, we know that there are fewer opportunities to take the SAT or ACT given the cancellation to date. This is a message to you students. You will not, I'm going to repeat, you will not be disadvantaged in any way if you do not submit. And we're talking about the subject test. There are two other Ivy League schools, Princeton and the University of Pennsylvania, who do not require students to take the subject test. But so far, schools like Dartmouth, Yale, and Brown still require them, as well as Stanford. Now, these are all highly selective schools, but schools like University of Chicago, even before COVID-19, is test optional, right? So, and more of them are becoming. More than 24 institutions, including highly selective schools like Williams College, Amherst in Massachusetts, has become test optional for students who enroll in 2021. Even some of our Jesuit campuses like Santa Clara University. So check fairtest.org to get regular updates because that's important for you to know. But I've been saying a lot of language out there. Test optional, test flexible, test blind. What does this all mean? Okay, so let's make sure we get our facts first. So pretend you have your college list done and you're checking the sites. I'm going to be honest with you. And if there is colleges out there, everyone needs to just have a FAQ COVID-19 on page 1 on the home page. So students counselors, parents, and guardians can easily read it. It's not always in there. So when you're Googling it, just do fall admissions requirements, COVID-19. That's usually what I do at each of the call sites to find it. It's all over the place. So sorry, guys. But hopefully that's a helpful tip for you. Okay, what's test blind? Test blind means students are required not to submit the test scores, and that there's other variations that colleges would use, right? So if you weren't listening to the news about UCs is not only test optional for entering class fall 2021 or fall 2022. That's our current 10th and 11th graders, or rising seniors, rising juniors. But they're also going test blind. This is signed and done for the class of 2023 and the class of 2024, meaning you cannot submit your test scores for that. But at the same time, just because admissions indicated that, campuses may use test scores for, wait for it, scholarships, post-enrollment courses, statewide eligibility, right? So if you're like one of those kids that, hey, I'm such a great tester, I just need to use it to meet some of the requirements, they'll still accept that. And they're thinking even for fall 2025 beyond, a brand new test. This is not unusual for the UCs to determine because it's important for them to have students who are college bound and college ready. The UCs are one of the main forces that added that writing portion that most colleges don't use. And there's a big issue that a lot of people are talking about is equity. Some people have resources to get a tutor and some don't. And though there's some great resources like academy.act.org that's free, or Khan Academy through satpractice.org, it's really hard if you're that working student or that student that has that long commute or that athlete who's, doing a lot there. They have to pick up your siblings and you have a heavy course load and, oh, what's that thing called sleep? And, oh, yeah, I have to meet with my tutor later. There needs to be some sanity, accessibility, and equity in all this. And there's lots of research regarding about that. So test blind means that they will not use it for admissions. But what if a school's test optional? So test optional schools are saying that it's not mandatory for students to submit their SAT or ACT scores, but they can. But let me tell you, you better check. There's a lot of scattergrams out there, right? So like SCORE, or if you want to look at nationwide results like NEACH, they or also if you look at college scorecard, they'll give you average test scores. It would help you if you are in the average or above it. If you're not, then maybe don't send your test scores. I've had college reps tell me like, if they didn't submit their test scores, everything else was great, like their personal statement, their recommendation, extracurricular activities. Some campuses do interviews. Yeah, if you haven't scheduled interviews, if your campus does it, summertime's a great time to do it. Just do your research ahead of time. So that's one of the other thing. And then there's the other campuses like Tex Flexible. One of the very popular ones is NYU, New York University, where they allow you to submit various standardized test scores, right? So you can submit some AP exams or subject exams or the SAT or ACT. They had a webinar, a virtual opportunity one day, and the question was asked, well, now that kids can't take tests because it's so impacted, what are your response? There isn't. So remember, I'm going to put a question out there for all our listeners. What is your job? If the campus requires you to take the test or is text flexible, you are supposed to reach out, send that email, go communicate to the campuses. Now, I want to also let you know that if you haven't heard, like I mentioned before, the CSU system, all 23 of them, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, San Diego State, San Francisco State, oh my God, do I need to keep going? Bakersfield, you name it, they're all going test blind. So for those California residents who are listening to us right now, one of the things to know is that they are going to look very heavily for your GPA. Now, GPA can be used 10th, 11th grade, but a school, one that's been doing it historically for many years, also looks at 9th grade. So that could be great for some of you guys, and some of you be like, what? So again, you want to email the outreach office of the prospective CSU, though it's all 23 CSUs, and they are brothers and sisters together. You have to remember each campus is different. So yes, again, you need to communicate. So if I were you, I would be sending those communications now. And that's just a good policy just to keep in mind as you move forward through all of this, right? To always communicate. So what are the things that the CSU is going to do? Well, just remember, if you did take credit, no credit, or past classes, that GPA will not be incorporated. Remember, all coursework with a C- or better is considered passing for the CSU system. If you do take a test, they will use it for enrollment if later on, if you do matriculate, meaning like deposit to the campus. But for California students, you still have to fulfill that A to G requirements, right? So that is your history, your English, your math, your science. Don't forget that lab of both physical and biological, 2 years of the same language, and then also their 1 year of the same discipline, visual performing arts, and that 1 year of elective. And you can just go to ucop.edu/doorways to find out if your online provider or your California high school, what is their A to G list. But you must have that 2.50 GPA, 2.50. Any high school graduates earning between a 2.0 or 2.49 may be evaluated for admissions based on these other criteria: household income, extracurricular involvement, other available information that to inform the campus. Some campuses like Cal Poly San Luis Obispo have always asked that. How many hours per week do you volunteer? How many hours per week do you work, right? So these are some of the things they'll do. In case we have non-California residents listening in, they're looking at a 3.0 or greater, still that A to G. So they're going to look at your course offerings to see if it is similar to what their requirements are. Now, keep in mind, this is just for the class of 2021. This is a temporary change. One thing I always count on is change for the future, but there has been no announcements regarding about any changes for AP content, for any of the changes, and they'll still honor all the transferable courses for any scores 3, 4, or 5 from the spring 2020 exams. So hopefully this has helped you guys a little bit. We will continue to give you more shows to help you out there. One site that I think has helped a lot of students, it's usually used from professionals, both on the college and high school end, but it's called Insider Higher Education. There, they have given a lot of great updates on COVID-19, changes that are happening to campuses. You're right. So they'll also talk about other issues as well, too. So just keep that in mind. Keep up to date. And then also keep up with yourself, meaning still, like I said in the beginning of the show, take time for yourself. Check in with yourself. Make sure that everything's going okay, right? You heard my youngest son speak earlier. You still have to have moments where you still feel like a kid. And it's really hard now because there's a lot of serious issues that we all need to do with that. But take care of yourself. Have communication with people in your family. Connect with other people online, on the phone, text. Check in with other people. Have non-college talks if this is your time to go through the college process. And then, schedule time to do the college process. It's not going to go away, and you deserve this opportunity. Life will continue on. It has been continuing on, but we all need to make sure that we need to know that we are in this together and that we will be stronger together as we move forward during these uncertain times. Once again, thanks for listening to our show. Follow us on social media.